Traders, today we're going to talk about the routines required to get yourself into the mindset of becoming professionally consistent. What I mean by that is something where you could take trading into a full-time endeavor rather than something that's just a bit of fun. And to do that, yes, there's a lot you need to be doing within your trading, but there's also a lot you need to be doing before your trading. So to do that, let me just give you a bit of an one-time insight into 3 things that I try to do before I start my trading day, okay? So first thing I tend to do is I'll head into my missus' office, okay? So my wife's office, which you can see over there, it's right there through the living room. And I had this built just for her, a little sort of den for her. Not a trading den, but a work den. She's not a anytime I say the word trader, her eyes roll, okay? So she's not in the trading field, she's actually in the fintech space. First thing I'll do is I'll come in here, I just make sure she's all right. You know, in all seriousness, I'll make sure that everything is okay, because I hate getting to my trading desk, there's something on her mind, you know, that she needs to get off. Maybe I've annoyed her in some way. You know how it is, you don't want to head to your trading desk with any outstandings that you need to clear with, whether it's your husband or wife or whether it's another family member. I can't stress that enough. You know, it's the sort of things, especially as men, we don't really talk about, but it's so important to have a clear mind in terms of your family and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's number 1. Clear any issues with your family, brother, mum, sister, wife, whatever. Get it out of the way. So I'll always go there, make sure she's all right. Number 2 is I'll make sure everything is clean. Just look how clean I keep everything. I make sure nothing's out in the kitchen, on the table. It's all clean. Okay, because if there is something, I can't think straight. So I'd highly advise you, you know, whether you live on your own like I do or whether you live with your parents, no excuse not to keep your place clean, spick and span. Okay, I will not start trading until the place is spick and span. That's number 2. Number 3, I like to sit down and watch a bit of TV. Okay, so you can see my little sofa there. You can actually see my office in the back, which we're going to head out to in a second. I'll actually sit down, I'll watch a bit of TV for around about 20 minutes. We're actually just going to head out into the office now. So yeah, just got out of the utility room there. I'm going to try and walk backwards to my office without breaking a leg. So just about made it down to my office without damaging myself. You can see I've left the door open, and again, you can see one of the core items that I mentioned to you that I do before I start is I make sure everything's clean. Just look how spick and span everything is. Okay, I will not start my trading day, and you can see there as well, everything, if we just go around, very, very clean. Okay, try and keep everything very, very clean before I get to my desk, which you can see there. And then I'm ready to start my trading day. So just to summarize, we're going to do a trade in a moment, but 3 things, okay, I do before I start my trading day all the time. Number 1, make sure my missus is happy, everything's clear, no drama, you know, crystal clear in mind. Number 2 is just make sure everything's clean before I start my trading day. And then number 3 is watch a little bit of television. You know, it could just be anything on television. Nothing too taxing, just maybe some dramas or whatever you want to watch. Then I feel very, very relaxed. And then I can get on with my trading day, which we're going to do now. So we have the live market in front of us. You can see that here. You're going to see an actual trade I took in real time, which is really important because I want you to see the end result of actually having that clarity of mind. But not only that, the potency, how potent it is when you combine it with clarity of information, okay? Being a professional trader is not just about having clarity of mind. Of course, that's very important. It's also about having clarity of information, okay? So you're gonna see the 2 things and how potent it is and the end result, which is, end of the day, why you're in this. You're in this to make money. So it's important that you actually see the monetary effect of actually clearing your mind, okay? So we're gonna see that together. Let's actually go and just, we won't spend too long on it, okay? Because the gist of the video was about having clarity of mind, but I want you to see the end result, like I said. So important, so you keep motivated every day, that you know that there is something to be gained out of making all this effort, okay? Now, the irony is, having clarity of information as a professional trader
the irony is actually about making things simpler. You know, all of this stuff you see in front of you, it might look complicated. Actually, it's less complicated. Okay, and I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to show you how when you combine it with the sort of things I talked about at the start of this video, the end result, which you're going to see, can be amazing and quite stress-free as well. So we see here the day before. I've talked about this before, but it's something called market profile. It's really about having that clarity of information. I see a lot of traders have, you know, charts with so much information on it in terms of price, you know, just moving. Really, they could just truncate that and create much more clarity for themselves by having the same information in a very small area of their chart. And this actually gives us a ton of information in such a small space in our chart. It tells us the bulk of volume took place at these prices, and it then allows us, as we come into today, to see relative to yesterday, what's the market doing. Why is this so important, right? This is where the clarity of information comes in. Because if you think about what the market's done yesterday, the day before I'm trading, the market's had a rally, right? So a lot of buyers have come in. Would you agree if the market's gone up? The bulk of this is going to be buyers, right? Of course it is, because the market's moved up. And it's off the back of a central bank decision, not really that important, but that was the catalyst for it. The point is, look, we've opened today below. So clearly a lot of these buyers are going to be what? Underwater, maybe have some floating losses, right? So they're clearly going to be thinking about what? Maybe lightening up some of those positions. So when people lighten up buying, what happens? The market tends to drift off. It's going to drift, because to lighten up buying, you need to do what? Sell. Okay, so straight away, in such a short or small area of my chart, I'm already starting to get a much clearer vision of what the market might be trying to do. Can you see that compared to where I see people having lots of information on their chart? Do you see professional trading isn't necessarily about, you know, let me just dump as much information as I can. It's actually about being clever, right? And this is where the next stage is where clarity of mind comes in, because we now have this idea in our mind very, very quickly that perhaps we're going to see a slight drift south for the reasons aforementioned. Now, what have we seen coming into today? So this is today, right? This is today. I'm expecting the market to drift. So if we get these pullbacks, would you agree? I want these pullbacks to be as weak as possible. If these pullbacks, which you see here, this pullback here is this pullback. If these pullbacks are quite weak, as in the buying is weak, do you see it? It ties in very nicely with my idea that we could likely get a drift south. Okay, so this is where clarity of mind is so important, because, you know, if you've got so many things on your mind, and like I said, I like to clear my mind of things, which we talked about in depth at the start of this video, what I do to do that. How am I going to have the clarity of thought to actually, or even concentration, to look here to see, is the buying weak? Well, I'm going to have too many things on my mind, I'm going to miss things. Let me show you how important it is. So can you see here, we've got the buying on one side and we've got the selling on the other. Okay, very, very straightforward. Now at each of these price points, can you see the selling and the buying? It's very even, okay? It's very evenly distributed. That's telling us what? Not only that potentially the buying is weak, but that it's certainly not stronger than the selling, okay? So it's problematic, okay? There's a problem with the buying, okay? It's not got any conviction behind it, because the selling is balancing itself nicely with the buying, okay? So do you see, if I'm not concentrating, I could quite easily miss that information. Finally, the only real area where I see an imbalance of buying, i.e. greater buying than selling, is right at the top. Do you see that here? You can see it says 76 versus 0. Now, typically we would expect to see that at the top tick. It's quite normal to see that, okay? So again, if you're not concentrating, you're not thinking about where am I actually seeing this imbalance of buying. Oh, it's at the top. Maybe it's not as relevant. That's going to be something you might miss if you haven't got clarity of mind. So can you see it's really about having the combination of Not only clarity of information, also clarity of mind. And the effect can be very, very potent when you put them together. Because now we have very clear indication, direct indication from the marketplace, not from any indicator or any sort of silly things, which I do see. A lot of people, have said it many times. I've actually got direct market information telling me that this buying is likely to, be problematic. So it's a good time for me to think about getting short in combination with the early analysis. We're expecting a drift anyway. What a great time if we do start to see some selling coming in to get into the marketplace. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll hit play. You're going to see me get into the market in just a moment. Let me just fast forward it slightly. I think just getting into the market any moment now. So you're going to see me coming into the market. We've seen this buying up here be problematic. We've kind of cleared that region. So it's a good time for me to start getting short. And you're going to see that. And the risk, right, in terms of risk management, it's actually a great area to be getting short, because we know if that's the area that buyers are having lack of conviction. If we do start to go above there, it's probably a good indication that perhaps our analysis is wrong, right? Again, you've got to have that clarity of mind of being willing to accept that, you did everything right. However, it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, in the sense that the buyers did start to get back in, or we just didn't have the follow through that we wanted to the downside. Okay, that's not to say we shouldn't get in, because we can't read the future, right? Obviously, we can only utilize the information in front of us, and the information in front of us is telling us this is a great place for us to be getting short. We've got that clarity of mind, because like I said at the start of the video, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just thinking about this. I'm very, very confident that the analysis I've done so far is solid, because that's where I had my full attention. So I've taken the short position. You can see that the stop is just above the highs. You can see it there. Okay, so that's why it's important for me to combine the information at the start with a real trade that I took, so you can actually see that it does result in something in your pocket, real money in your pocket. So it's worth the effort doing. Now, this takes a little bit of time to play out, okay? So I will forward it. You're going to see that it does take a little bit of time, maybe about 10 to 20 minutes. Another reason it's very important to have clarity of mind with clarity of information is because sometimes things will take time. The sellers can sometimes take a little bit of time to follow through, because they're also a little bit nervous. Are the buyers completely done? It's not only our selling positions that move the market down, it's thousands of other sellers, or one or two big institutions with thousands of positions that we're relying on to come into the market. And what's wrong with them taking another 10 minutes, 20 minutes just to be a little bit sure? So what we want to see the market, maybe remain in this area for a while, no danger, give some of those larger institutions or multiple players time to really come round to the fact that the buying is weak, this drift is coming through. So let me just show you that. We're going to fast forward, because it does take about 10, 15 minutes, right? So you're going to see it. There you go. Do you see it just really started powering through around 10 to 15 minutes later? And you don't need to take my word for it. You can see you've got the evidence right in front of you there. You can see all the sellers starting to really pile in and the buyers backing off. So it's probably a combination of the prior days buying, people lightening up on some of that. So they're selling to get rid of some of these buying positions, which is moving the market down. And then speculative players like ourselves who see that and realize we can take advantage of that and actually make some money from that. Okay, so that's taken, about 10 to 15 minutes. So we're just going to fast forward it a little bit more, because at this stage, about another 5-10 minutes where majority of my scales do get taken out. So you can see I've banked about $1,400. And just final point before we end the video, you'll notice also I've moved my stops down very close to my entry point, because one thing you've got to think, right, and it's a lot of people think a lot of this stuff is quite complicated. It's not. It's a lot more logical than a lot of the random arbitrary things I see non-professional traders doing. You know, like they'll have indicators, they'll have lines on their chart which really don't tell them anything. When you've got actual transactional data in front of you, you can make an informed decision. What I mean by that is, think about it. If you've got sellers coming in, which we've got huge evidence of in front of us, that sort of momentum has really started to come in now. Okay, think about what these guys are thinking. Some of them, yes, will be people who've lightened up loads from before, but some of them are going to be like you and me, who are actually in profit. We're going to want to what? Take some profits. When you take profits, what do? You buy. Now, if a lot of people start taking profits, what's going to happen? The market's going to start moving up. Okay, so that sometimes can have a chain reaction and actually reverse the entire market back to where it was. Do you really want to be part of that? You know, you've already made quite a bit of money in the trade. Be sensible, you know. So I've moved my stop down. I'm comfortable, you know. If it gets taken out, that's it. I'm fine. I've banked. You know, I've got the rewards for the clarity of thought and also the clarity of trading that I combined together. I've got my rewards for it. Why risk that? Okay, so I've got that initial momentum I'm looking for. That's not to say I closed the trade. Do you see? I've still left the trade open. I'm still hoping that it goes further. I'm just saying if it goes against me, I've got that initial momentum now. I can see that here. I can also see it in my P&L. Time to move the stops down, basically. So let's just see how it played out. Believe it or not, it did start to go down, as you can see, but it actually didn't get to my target and initially just took me out. So you can see why it is very, very important to have an idea of when that initial momentum comes in, when it's the right time to tighten things up. Okay, so you can see the final positions getting taken out there for 1,662.50. Okay, so this really shows why it's worthwhile doing the things I said at the start of the video. Not only because it's a nice thing to do, obviously, you know, especially with people like your partner, make sure your mum, dad, brother, sister, whatever, make sure relationships are good, but you can see there's also a reward at the end of it, as long as you combine it with clarity of trading. Now, if you're looking for clarity of trading, final point, check out this video here, which is really going to help you get yourself in that right direction, to combine it with the clarity of thought we spoke about at the start. Have a great week.